Good afternoon and welcome to Just Jocelyn. Today I have Al Fulchino, but he's not here, unfortunately, to talk about his winery and all the wonderful events that go on, but we will come back to that at another show. He is here because we have, and I have to say we because of the whole state, this is happening to the same degree, more or less than what's going on in Hollis. And the question is, how is it possible that Hollis, New Hampshire, had 100% or more voter participation in the last election? This is not something that we haven't seen before. We all remember Marilyn Todd and Wyndham and going through all the various towns. We had towns that had 120% voter participation, 102, 130, all sorts of wild numbers. That's impossible. Absolutely, positively impossible. So here we have how and did Hollis have 100% voter participation? Does the data support it? How did you come to these conclusions? So welcome to the show, Al. I'm so glad that you're here to help tell everybody here in this state what is going on.
So again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's a story that I never thought I'd be involved with. And I do want to say up front, I'm not here saying today, right now, that we had 100% voter turnout. Mm-hmm. But after I get through talking, I think all the viewers you have are going to at least have a question in their mind that begs for further investigation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we started in the aftermath of 2020, you had both political sides, like they are today, at war with each other. Not my president was in 2016. You had the Democrats, he's not my president, he didn't really win, all this stuff. In 2020, you had the Republican side saying there's election anomalies. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do you can't win these arguments with people. They're embedded in what they believe, and you can't change minds.
Correct.
So we decided, some other fine citizens in Hollis and I got together, and we said, this should really be easy to clarify. Mm-hmm. About too many people voting, over 100%. So we just went and said, where do we start? We started by looking at the data. How many people live in the town of Hollis?
Okay.
First number we find is the number 8,342. That is a U.S. Census number.
Okay.
Okay? And it's a good-sized number. Mm-hmm. We incidentally were asked by the town administrator to use a lower number, which actually made our case even better, but that's a side story. We then said, okay, how many children do we have in the school systems, or what's the population? Some, of course, are homeschooled. 17 and under. In most towns, you're going to have close to a third, okay? So right out of the gate, we're saying, okay, now we're looking at the voter checklist that is published. And depending on which number we were looking at, it was anywhere from 7,600 registered voters to 7,800.
Okay.
So for the sake of the discussion, I want to use the 7,600.
All right.
Because that gives the, I'll say the other side more leeway and is more favorable to them.
So you subtracted the number of children from the 8,342.
So yeah, when you do that, you really should have, out of 8,342, you should be taking off, 2,500 to 3,000 people, okay? So your voter numbers could be in the upper 5,000s, low to mid 6,000s, okay? Generally speaking, because you actually have to go do the math. But so these were our just initial things we looked at. So we then went to the town website to look to see the meeting minutes by the checklist.
Okay.
So to see, we didn't want to make fools of ourselves. We wanted to do the math, and quite honestly, we would have been very grateful if we could have done the math, walked away, and said, the data supports no further looking.
Yep.
Our life would be so much easier. Mm-hmm. Instead, we get a lot of support. I'll say that up front. But we get picked on a little bit. You're not a patriot. You're a denier. You're all this stuff. The problem is, you still bring out the calculator and do the math. And they never will respond to your math. the people who don't want to agree with us.
Right. They just
don't
want to
want to see
respond
what we
with
see.
names, which is what
So
we're
that's
seeing.
fine. No big deal. We looked online. We saw no meeting minutes. Okay, we're a small town, and we like our smallness. Maybe it just never made it to the website, whatever. We did look up the rules. The RSA say if your town has the capability to put the meeting minutes up there, you put the meeting minutes up there. One board can do it, two boards can do it. But again, let's not badger these people. Let's not antagonize. It is what it is. If all that we do
Follow
is say,
the numbers.
if all this is you didn't put your meeting minutes online, and when we get done with this, you do.
Yep.
Okay. Good
So be
enough.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't see any meeting minutes
Okay.
at all. Period. Planning board's on there, zoning, building, not building, but
Ways and
conservation,
means.
just
Yeah, okay.
everybody.
Yep.
Select board, they all doing their job. Okay. So if you're a curious citizen, you can follow along and enjoy the beauty and integrity of your town. When we couldn't find it, we went down to, according to the RSAs, everything is supposed to be kept at the town clerk's office.
Okay.
We go to the town clerk's office. At the time, and I know she's retiring very close to now, she may still be, but Lisa Clare was the town clerk, and she told us that she was not in any possession of any meeting minutes. So we're scratching our head and like, okay, what do we do now? I mean, do we follow this? Do we waste our time? Do we just pursue it? So what we did is we got two individuals who are just super respected in our community. Tony Stenese, he's on the BudCom, I think, for the school. Raul Blanchet, similar position, and Cemetery Commission. Two of the finest people you're going to come across. Integrity, patience, sincerity, attention to detail, non-confrontational. People love them. I love them. We had them reach out to the checklist to get meeting minutes. And we were met with, it's summer, we're busy.
Okay.
Okay. My mother is ill, I'm taking care of my mother. Okay, that's fine. There's three of them. Not all of their mothers were ill. All right, no problem. We kept pursuing it. 3 weeks into it, they finally said, we'll give you bullet points. And now we're thinking, all right, this is getting really odd. You just want to see the meeting minutes. You're supposed to have this. This is data.
Can we just sit down with the binder and flip through it?
Yeah,
something?
flip through it, whatever. Yeah, we want to be, we're a bunch of...
Not to distract, but, or you can do what what happened in Nashville for the ballot counting. And you could read it, that fast. Yeah. That's very odd.
Anyways, we couldn't get anywhere. And we said, no, we want the meeting minutes. And they just rebuffed us. I reached out to our state senator, Kevin Avard. What do we do? He said, well, you can reach out to Secretary of State's office. We do. We deal with a gentleman by the name of Bud Fitch. And we go back and forth. And he was kind enough to highlight what the RSAs say, which is, you ask for them, they shall give. And we're into week 8. Nothing is happening. I reached out to him again. I said, you mentioned you would call them. Can you call them? And he obliged. And within a few days, we got meeting minutes. Okay? The meeting minutes, now they gave us meeting minutes that they said were for 3 years, 2020, 21, 22. They meet almost monthly, and in some cases they have an extra meeting here or there based on elections and whatnot. So, in theory, 3 years should have close to 30 meeting minutes, sets of meeting minutes.
Right.
Okay? And we had 7 sets. And they all came with redacted signatures. So we scratch our head and say, okay, let's ignore the redacted signatures. Let's look at the math on there and just with the names that they presented to us. It looked a little like it was put together.
Yep.
Thursday night, you have a test on Friday, here you go.
Yep.
At least get the C. Well, the numbers didn't add up. And we also reached out to the Secretary of State's office again, Mr. Fitch, and, what is this here, the redacted signatures? From his perspective, I get it. He highlights what he highlights, doesn't give me answers. He has to play it for everybody. He's a state person. But I did some research. I talked to municipal county association people. I talked to state senators. I talked to state reps. I talked to other checklist people. Okay?
Nothing.
I said, can you show me, what are we missing here? First of all, they were all aghast when they saw the redacted signatures.
Okay.
Okay? You cannot redact your signature.
You're a public
If you write
servant.
a check, you can't redact your signature.
No.
Your mortgage check, anything. Yeah, you're elected. There are certain reasons you can do it. Maybe your witness protection program.
But that's not what you're talking about.
They're elected officials.
Right.
They put their name on a sign, a lawn sign, said, please vote for me.
Correct.
They get voted in. Is it a thankless job? By and large. Is it a tough job? It takes diligence. They get a very small amount of money. So again, I know some, like Raul knows one of them. He goes to church with her. I knew another one there. We used to coach together. No ill will on either side. But just asking the question changed everything. Just saying, can we look at things? Tony and Raul went to one of their meetings, and checklist member Mary Thomas read off a letter, saying, hey, look, you're doubting us. You're questioning our integrity.
No, we're checking the numbers, and we're doing our due diligence because you're a public servant, and you took an oath. And
and remember this: for us to put ourselves out there and have it blow up in our face is risky.
Correct. You're just as much at risk.
So what we did was go in there and say, we're not here to make fools out of you or us.
We just want the answers.
Because we see, this is the next step, because we see there are some issues, we're offering volunteerism to you. We're offering money if you need laptops or this or that.
What do you need? Let us help you.
Exactly. Nope, we're all set. So, okay, well, you're not giving us the meeting minutes. We had to have the Secretary of State get involved. When you did send it to us, you have redacted signatures. The numbers don't add up. You see, Hollis had 5,890 people vote in 2020.
Okay.
Okay, 5890.
5890.
We thought we had 7,600 plus people. So do the math. That's low mid-70s percentile voter turnout. The entire community, like many others, patted themselves on the back. We're doing our duty as American citizens to vote. And I mean, there should be great turnout. You had Joe Biden. People loved and hated. You had Trump, loved and hated. You had COVID. People are in. You had absentee ballots. Crazy year. Wasn't much left else to do except eat from takeout, order your drinks, and vote. So you should have good voter turnout. Now here's the problem. 2020, by fate, is a year ending in 0. And in the state of New Hampshire, every 10 years, the state does a purge. And they have their own little items, what makes up a purge, to clean up voter lists. People haven't voted for a certain period of time, etc. They have their criteria.
Moved.
Whatever's on their list doesn't even matter to me. Within months of the election, in Hollis, they cleaned up 1,390 voters. Okay? Again, just math. So we go from the 70... You have to also recognize, yes, people register to vote. There's a few changes that happen, but you're only talking a few months. We're a small population.
Yeah.
Our new voter registration after the purge was 6,301.
But if I subtract 1,390 from 5,890, that's 4,500.
Well, you're not subtracting. You have the number of voters, so your new numerator is the same as the old, 5,890.
Yeah.
Your new denominator is what changed. Instead of the 7,600 plus, you're now down to 6,301. You do the math on that now, and you're about 93% voter turnout. You can stand up and make the case. You're taking the voter number on one date, and several months later you have another date. That's true. I'm with you. But now we're at 93%. And yes, people moved in. But remember, somebody sells a house, usually 2 adults leave, 2 adults move in.
And if kids move in, they're not 18, so they don't count unless they're 18.
The point is, again, just the numbers.
It's pretty
So now we're looking at these things, we're saying, okay, let's put that aside. We were not there to prove that you had 100% voter turnout. We were there only to find out what are the facts and what are the procedures. Along the way, we found out the meeting minutes were like, where are they? We were finding out we had redacted signatures. and a few other things we found along the way. We, in our back pocket, had a list of over 400 names of people going as far back as 2019 that had submitted permanent change of address requests moving out of Hollis.
Were they still on the list?
Still on the list. Well, the list we had, what we had was just the list. That way it could be a pure list. There's no politics involved. These people went to the post office and said, my name is John.
That's the USPS.
I live at this address. I'm moving to Naples, Florida, California, Wilton, New Hampshire. Okay? Now, then you take that data and you would insert it and figure out where it all plays out. Now, we just held on to it, okay? Because I also, in talking to other checklist people, I said, you know, our state just had almost 20% cleaned up by the state. How much did you have? 5%, 3%, 7%. Well, what do you do that's better? Why are we having this? I'm making you aware of what's going on, and they would tell me. We check the obituaries, we check the address changes, all the normal stuff, driver's license and property transfers. And I said, well, the state had 250,000 names cleaned up, voters they cleaned up. Yeah. We only have 1.3 million people. If you have 300,000 17 and under, now you've got 1 million and you're cleaning up 25%. And I'm seeing that you did a good job, and you did a good job, and you did a good job. That means certain communities are doing really bad, because if the statewide we cleaned up 25%, and many of you are doing 5%, 3%, 7%, that means some might be doing over the 25%. So where do we stand? So we said, well, let's look at Hollis. And along the way, there's many things, and I try to remember everything for you, but remember, we have these names in our pocket. We know we're going to go lower than the 6301.
Right.
Okay? Along the way, people come in, they move in, the voting, same-day voters, whatnot. We go up to 6,500. I think we went up to 6,700 in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Along the way, there was one, it literally was just over a year ago, November 14th, there was a select board meeting where they called in all the checklist people to be debriefed on the election. And the checklist people come in, and my group of Tony Stanisi, Raul Blanchet, Mike McCormick, Ken Blumenshine, myself, we're sitting in the audience. And we're watching. And we're feeling a little low because the board is heaping huge praise on this group, which is fine. But we felt a little defeated because we were doing the best we could. We knew something wasn't right, but we didn't quite have what it was. We watched them all take the praise, and we got a little ridiculed by the select board for social media commentary that we were sharing with the community. And they also were asked, do you need any tools? First of all, they all accepted the praise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tom Davies said, it's a tough job, but we got it under control. Do you need money? Do you need tools? No, we got it under control. I was feeling pretty low. By this point, a couple of our people, they're really mad because they know these people, and they're like, you're not being straight. If you had it under control, we wouldn't not only be off what the state knew we were off, you wouldn't be off what we have in our back pocket. Okay? We're letting you play it out. Overall, we offered the checklist folks help and money 3 times. And here's the select board offering it another time.
A 4th time.
A 4th time. Nope, all under control. We don't need any help. We need nothing. I'm sympathetic to people making mistakes. Maybe they're a teeny bit in over their head. Maybe they didn't quite see something, and then being a little embarrassed. So you forgive them a little bit. I'm going to go way over your time.
You're fine.
So
we'll take a break, and we'll come back and do the other half.
So I'm sympathetic. But we have offered you the help privately. We did everything privately behind the scenes. And when you rebuffed us and ridiculed us, now it takes on a fight. Anyways, 2 of our people, Tony and Raul, went out in the hallway as the checklist people accepted their accolades and went out. And we look like we're the bad ones. The checklist people go to leave, and Tony and Raul went out and said, you know, this isn't right what just happened here. And I'm not privy to everything because I didn't witness it myself, but I know that's what they were doing. I can hear it getting louder. We stayed in there just to see if there's any more feedback.
Correct.
We walk outside, and they're talking. And I'm thinking, okay, again, we're not here to condemn them, crucify them. I go to them, I said, what is this? And I present my phone. I said, these are redacted signatures. What is this about? We get into this, whatever. We're getting a little loud. We go outside, just outside the door. And I said to the 3 checklist people, I said, you know, I said, this has never been personal. It's all about numbers. I said, let me read you what one of your colleagues, another town's supervisor of the checklist, said about what I'm showing them. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, what have they been doing? This is literally their job, I said to Mary, I said, this is what they're saying, not us. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to get to the bottom of it. And she had a moment, and in front of us all, she said these 3 things. We knew the voter rolls were overinflated. And I'm like, okay. We knew we were not sending out the 30-day letters on a timely basis. I'm okay. We knew. And I said, you know, I says, now I have feelings now. I said, would you go inside with me? Because we just got hammered in there. And now you're telling everything that we know is true that you kind of hid. Mm-hmm. And they were willing, but one member went in, and the board said, sorry, we are in non-public session now. Okay. It's funny how things work out.
Isn't that funny how timing?
The next day, I'm at our town transfer station, and I see one of the select board members. And I say, I'm going to share something with you right now. And he was like, oh my, well, they weren't being upfront with us. Huh. I said, no. And I said, I have witnesses, all this occurred. I thought something would come of that. Because the people you fund, because the town does fund them. I know they're a separate branch because they get voted separately. Right. I get all that.
But they still get money from the town.
And you have 2 board liaisons. You should communicate with them. Just come clean. So every time something happened, the hole got deeper. And then that select board member, I can't tell you he did something with the board, said, hey, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is nothing happened. Nothing happened at all.
Status quo.
Status quo. So along the way, we were invited by the newly elected Secretary Scanlon at his invitation to go up, the 5 of us. I think 4 of us went, and we told them everything. Step by step by step. Everything I've pretty much outlined here. And I said to him, Mr. Scanlon, I said, in the end, what do you call it when they sign their name to the document that says Town of Hollis, Secretary of State, State of New Hampshire, voters, this is your official checklist.
They certified it.
They certified it. Now, I know what the answer is, but I wanted to ask it in question form because during that conversation, he was saying, well, it sounds like they need some training. And I said, it does sound like that. But I said, what do you call it when this has been called to their attention? They've done nothing about it. And then they signed. I said, because now, Mr. Secretary, we're at 93%. And again, I didn't tell him. I had in our proverbial pocket, we have more names. So he said, you know what, we need to have another meeting. So about 30 days later, January of this year, because that was December of last year, Senator Avard again, the invitation went out to the checklist people. I believe they said that they didn't know about the meeting, which I was told it went out to them 3 times through proper channels. For whatever reason, they weren't there. Who am I to say? He also invited the Attorney General's representative in. We spent 2 hours again. Can you imagine over this little teeny issue, which should have been nothing, we've now had 4 hours with the Secretary of State
and the AG
of an important state, and now 2 hours. It wasn't the AG himself.
Well,
it was,
the representative of
yes,
the AG's office. Okay.
So they said that, essentially they were going to take things under advisement. And I know Scanlon can only do so much. He oversees them, but he's not like their boss.
Correct.
And if you look at the RSAs, we're supposed to take this to the Superior Court, okay? And I'm thinking, I know these people. Why do I want to take them to court? Let's just look at the numbers. I can remember being one time in the town administrator's office, the assistant was there, and the financial guy was there, and I said, would you guys accept this being 20% off? You're a financial guy, and of course, you're not saying anything, no criticism, it's just describing the scene. the assistant town administrator person, she says, who has jurisdiction over this? She's very frustrated with me. And I said, well, the state does. I said, but isn't it better to take care of this in the town? Why do we want to be famous for this kind of stuff?
Yep.
So that was the attitude. You know, basically, they wanted nothing to do with it. And I don't understand that. Because we offered to be friends and courteous and respectful.
Let's fix this.
Let's just fix it.
Yeah, let's point out the problems. Let's fix it. Let's take a quick pause right there, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and you can finish up the story.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. We're going to take a break and see you in a few. Welcome back to Just Jocelyn, and I am still here with Al Fulchino. Oops. And he is going to continue with this, I'd like to say story, because it started off as a story that of concerns in a small town called Hollis, and why some basic data and numbers could not be discussed, and problems issued, and a remedy arrived at. So to me, it's no longer a story. This is now turned into a problem and a lot of drama.
At least an event.
An event.
Yeah, needless drama. So I'll sum up real quick. None of it ever had to happen. The numbers, to anybody who has a brain, the numbers didn't add up. They wanted no part of it being public, that there was numbers that didn't add up.
Okay.
And we give them that mulligan because if you're in over your head, whatever, you don't want to be embarrassed. But again, we tried to do everything behind the scenes. And with everything that accumulated, redacted signatures, numbers not adding up, not having meeting minutes posted, and then finally admissions from an actual checklist person that we were not, you know, we weren't routinely sending out what we're supposed to send out. You now have a very interesting story that has a life of its own. We never anticipated being there. We anticipated continually taking it on the chin, being criticized, ridiculed, but the math never lied. Math never lied. We went to the board and said, look, you know, 2 weeks ago at your last meeting, you complimented all of the checklist people, you patted them on the back, you asked if they needed any help, they accepted all your congratulations. We sat there with egg on our face. They told you they had it all under control, and then less than 30 minutes after your meeting, they started coming clean. Well, we were right all along. I'm hoping to trigger somebody out of the 5 members to stand up and say, you know what, you guys did a good job. Can we? And if they had said right then, can we all sit down and just analyze it together?
Yep. Show us what you found. Show us what you
We'll show
think.
you. You show us procedures. We'll help you. We'll make your life easy. You continue to take your salary. I know it's small. We'll take nothing. We just don't want Hollis to be a bad story.
Correct.
So nobody bit. I mean, they should have co-opted us and said, let's work together. Now we're a team. Well, they didn't want any part of that. So very puzzling. Again, in our back pocket, we have a bunch of names. So we get the message from the Secretary of State's office and Attorney General. They're going to go meet with the town, with the people in Hollis, and have a sit down and go over procedures and whatnot. And in around April, I saw an email that says we went down, we had a meeting. They're going to be doing a good job going forward. Okay? That's the email. I followed up with not too long after, the Attorney General's office. Are they still under investigation? Yes, they're still under investigation. Okay. Can you tell me why, timetable? I can't tell you any of that. Okay, that's where we stand. Time continues to go on, and every time time goes on, you worry that everything will just fall apart.
Correct.
So we waited a couple more cycles of their meetings, which they are now posting meeting minutes. You know, God bless. You're doing
what you're supposed to do.
But you never would have if we hadn't been there. And to this day, there's never been any owning up to that. Okay? But we have kids. They eat the cookies. They don't want to tell you they ate the cookies. Okay. We don't need to be congratulated. Okay? Bottom line is, we see some cycles. There's no decrease in voters coming, and we are holding the voter names.
You still have that list, the secret sauce.
I think it was July 23rd, June 23rd, one of those months. Mike McCormick and I went to the town, at one of the checklist meetings. Present was Robin Dunn, present was Tom Davies. Cordial conversation. We're discussing percentages, and I'm saying, I want you to see where we're coming from. I don't want to be your enemy. I said, you had 73% voter turnout. You're up to 93%. You can make these cases. And here is it was actually over 500 names. I said that you need to look at, and I explained what they were. Where'd you get this list? I said, this is public information. Mm-hmm. Avon can get this information. And other checklist people in other towns, they get this information. Yep. So now here's the problem. You were 20% off. 1 out of 5 voters on your database was wrong. I said, it wasn't 1 out of 10, 1 out of 11, 1 out of 20. It was 1 out of 5 people were wrong. And if this list has any value in changing that percentage, it could be as high as another 5%. I sat back and she said, well, you know, this is a hard job. And I'm thinking back, no, a year ago you told that board that you didn't need any help.
You had everything under control.
Yeah, and I said, well, we offered you help. I said, but if you're going to say it's a hard job, based on everything that's transpired, I'm thinking internally, I no longer have sympathy for you. Mm-hmm. I said, you have roughly 6,000 plus voters on your list. We all know that most of those names, maybe 100%, would be no problem at all. Let's say you have to look at 300 names per year with all the different data points you can use. There's 3 of you.
That's 100
That means
each.
you have to look at 10 names every month. 10 names, 10 names. I said, so why is it, this is the job you took.
Yeah.
I said, I recognize it gets no accolades. You don't get a ton of money, but you took the job and you signed the thing and say, this is real. I said, and in 2020, anybody without any real identification, in some cases no identification, could get an absentee ballot.
Correct.
And shove it in. And I said, I know we were shoving ballots in, not separately. So they were all mixed in. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows anything anymore. So the problem is when you let this happen, you have now left open people able to say, I don't trust.
Correct.
And if you had kept the list clean, no shenanigans by bad actors would have been filing out absentee ballots, possibly, sending them in. But right now, we just don't know.
Correct.
So what is your job? And I said, in fact, I have a checklist person who said, and I repeated, oh my God, what have they been doing these last years? This is literally their job. So, well, we'll look at it. It looks like we're going to have to talk to the town about more postage. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Postage? Postage? We offered you money. The town offered you money. Now you're finding names. Anyways, bottom line is, that was a huge admission. Oh, I didn't tell you this. This is the huge admission. At that meeting, Mr. Tom Davies says to us, in the year or 2 leading up to the state purge, we refrained from sending out 30-day letters because we know the state will do the job for us.
And the state didn't do it.
And now I want to fall over in my chair, and I said, well, I don't want to break the news to you, but they have a certain set of criteria that complements your criteria. It doesn't assume all of your criteria or they do their thing. And thank God they do.
Yeah.
Thank God this was a year ending in 0 and now the year in 1, and they did that. You have other tools. And you just said you refrain from using your tool. That's 1/6 to 1/3, depending if it's 1 year or 2 years, as his words, of your term. What are we doing? And I looked at I thought, I got to get out of here. This is too crazy. I can't believe what I'm hearing. And I go home and I share the story with people I know, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm involved with here. This is not anything we thought it would be. So
it's a whole nother animal.
We tell the select board, whatever, zip, as is their right. But you have 2 liaison members. I'm telling you what you should know that either you already know or don't want to know or haven't inquired. Doesn't matter to me. The point is, I now have told you, and it's up to you to do something. So the next 2 things that we're going at on this was, we let them do their job, and now names are coming off, names are coming off, names are coming off. And I go to a follow-up meeting. I said, are you also checking anybody else that was of age that lived in the house that were registered? Yes, we're doing that. October 6th, 2020, the new voter count in the town of Hollis was 6,020. That's 131 registered voters over and above the number of people who voted in 2020. Am I here to say a fraud happened? No. I'm here to say that now your numerator and denominator is 98%. 73%, 93%, 98%. I went to the planning board area, spoke to the assistant there, and I said, can you tell me the number of houses built, permits pulled in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
She says, here's a report for 10. So I thought, okay, it's good I got that, because 2019, if somebody pulls a permit, the house doesn't mean that
doesn't mean it's built right away.
Yeah. So we've had over 200 homes. Okay, and I brought this up to the town. Well, Al, you know, people move into town, out of town. I said, no, that's existing homes. And that almost should be a wash. You have new homes. So if you have 200 homes, theoretically, they're conscientious, and at some point within that time frame, they go register to vote. The 2021 election, 2022, they have 23 coming up. I'm not here to say all 100% went and registered, but you have a pool of up to 400 people if there's 2 adults per home.
Right, 2 per home.
And if you want to say there's only 1 adult, to really,
then you got to pull a 200.
You still have 200.
Right.
If you take 6020 and you take off 200, you are now lower than who actually voted in 2020. Once again, am I here to say something happened illegal? Nope. I'm here to say that the numbers are so outlandish that anybody with any intellectual curiosity would demand to know what is under the covers. If we had learned that now we still are reflecting a 90% voter turnout, 88%, 70%, you say, you know what we did? We helped them clean up their job. Even with the fight, we helped them clean up. They're doing a better job, blah, blah, blah. But they, in my opinion, they're doing a better job because we pushed.
Correct.
Not because
you held them accountable.
And we didn't want to.
Right.
But now you're 98%, and you have to at least think about the new homes built and new people into your community. This doesn't, and maybe they all would vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. That's not what we're here to prove.
No, we're here to.
We're here to say we want to know what the accurate checklist is, and we want to make sure nobody in this planet can say you had over 100% voter turnout. But you can no longer say that without a forensic study. So we went to the board again, and I said to the checklist people, not the checklist people, said to the board and the liaison, I said, you know, this is where you are. You need to, you fund them. You fund them. You literally take our taxpayer money, give them the money. Don't you expect a job? Yep. I mean, I don't think I said DPW, but I will make the same argument. If a DPW person says, this is the money I need, the police say this is what I need, the schools say this, whatever it is, you do expect them to do the job.
Correct.
I said so.
And be accountable for it, and be able to give you numbers as you need it.
Yeah. You know, people won't talk to certain of us 5 now, or they won't do business with you. You know, they'll ridicule you. One of our people got chased around at the transfer station. It's people like you, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was one of the checklist people, okay? And it was to Tony Stanese that they were going after. It's like, what is going on here? This is insanity.
That behavior.
It's the behavior.
The behavior leads many to believe, me to believe, that they're hiding something more. And you know, you don't want to go down that path, but we're at a place in history where so many things are being hidden, and people are being attacked personally, called names. And the bottom line is to all of this, this is our taxpayer money they take, and they allot it to these jobs. Well, I'm sorry, we are the employers at this point.
Well,
and we're expecting you to do the job.
In general terms,
so
yes.
If there's a problem in a business, you need to investigate and find out what's going wrong. You're not doing anything that a normal business wouldn't do, and this is a business, and there's a lot of things playing into it.
And then the argument will come back as, well, you know what, they're elected, you know, you can vote them out. You know what, we get all that. But we also know that politics is one of those businesses where sometimes popularity and personal prejudices against this group or that group outweigh common sense.
Correct.
But in the end, whether they're voted in or not voted in, you would never accept this of your bank account.
Correct.
I mean, you can, and that's the thing, you can check your bank account 20 times a day. It's supposed to match to the penny. But we can't check this, and you're off by 20%.
That's it's not 2%,
it's not 2%,
which is not acceptable either.
Yeah. Listen, people, you're almost never going to have 100% accuracy because people die today. The election is 5 minutes later. You're still on the voter rolls, and the obituary came out. Maybe, I mean, I get it. It's not going to be perfect. But in one meeting, I was present with Mike McCormick and Tony Stanisi, and Mary Thomas came up to have a little discussion with us, and we were, it was cordial. These aren't people. They're
normal people.
They're normal people.
Yeah.
But there's either a small measure of incompetence to another greater measure of we're doing the best we can, to another measure of we don't want to be seen that we didn't know what we were doing. And then there's the other measure, which I'm not here to quantify in terms of was anything done malicious. But I to see so many inconsistencies and problems, I don't want to take anything off the table but what the reason is. Let's just assume, for the best in all of us, that there was just a few errors made, kindly. Mary Thomas came up to us because I explained to her, I said, look, Mary, some towns are 5%, whatever. I said, you're 20, and these numbers, they're going to make you maybe 25% off. She looked me in the eye and said to me, are you telling me, Al, that you think it's statistically significant to be 5% off or 20 or 25% off? Okay? So I don't know what to say. I'm only here to tell you a story. And I have no reason to make these things up. I know what has happened.
Is it statistically significant? Let's get Marilyn Todd on the phone.
Well,
she's a forensic auditor.
But if they didn't say that stuff, I wouldn't be here to share the story.
Correct.
We're like, let's just fix it. But then when they say that to you, how do you talk equally? How do you work together? Because if you find it acceptable to be 20 to 25% off, and just not that important, I don't know what matters. And I talked to a state official today. He's like, Al, what do you think? Do you think somebody voted illegally? I said, well, look, it's in the numbers. Do the data. If you hit 100%, maybe somebody voted, shouldn't have voted, but if you hit 101%, I said, I don't even need to know their names.
Nope.
Because I don't need to know if it's 102, if you hit anything over, if it was 100.1%, somebody voted or shouldn't have voted. Yep. I don't need to know their names. I said, so all we have done here is uncover what the problems are. And I know we don't want that. We don't want to jeopardize first in the nation and all that, and all the great good that many checklist people in the state do, town moderators, all of that. So many great people. Now, just a week and a half ago, it was the anniversary, and I did bring a cake. Probably shouldn't have, but I brought a one-year anniversary cake to celebrate that stuff. And I reminded the board of where we stood. It's 2 minutes. I get to speak 2 minutes. It's a public commentary. You don't really get to, there's no interaction. I did ask to be on the agenda to speak to and work with the liaisons to say these are the things that you want to ask and ask for when you hand them the money. Because you do come up with the budget and you present it to the budget committee. And you work together and the checklist people say this is how much money we need. You work, that's how it's done. I said, so these are the things you want to look for. That's what we wanted to say. They didn't want us on the agenda. So all we have is we get the crumbs. We get the 2 minutes and we get to say our thing. They stay quiet, which is their choice. We're not here to offend. We're not here to go over our time. We're not here to attack anybody. Mr. Whalen, Tom Whalen, is a select member. He decided he would speak to this issue. After we were done, they did a little business they had to do, and he put on his glasses and he starts reading, and he starts talking about us and our checklist issue in a very indirect way. And essentially it was, these people won't call themselves patriots, the checklist people. They work hard, they do this, they do that. They won't call themselves patriots, but I will. That's the essence. That's not word for word. That's the essence. And of course, that's an insult to us because that means by questioning, we're not patriots.
Correct.
So 2 weeks later, you go up again, put it on the calendar, you show up and you say, Mr. Whalen, you referred to your people as patriots, that's fine. Your patriots had no meeting minutes. Your patriots said they refrained from sending out 30-day letters for 1 to 2 years. Your patriots redacted signatures. Your patriots said we knew the voter rolls were inflated. My patriots, and I named the guys, they're all owed a debt of gratitude. They took it on the chin. They were chased around transfer station, one of them was. And I said, I'll take my patriots. And then you sit down and you don't hear anything.
Yep.
That's where we stand right now. We need a forensic audit. I mean, otherwise none of this matters, and I'm okay with nothing matters. I can retire to Italy. I can go do this, go do that. And if nobody else cares, I can't save the world. Nope. I'm not here to save the world. I'm not here to save the town.
But you are here. We are here to point out
that's what we're doing.
Significant discrepancies. We have, in the few minutes we have here, I just want to tell everybody, thank you so much for telling the story. Some people may say, you know, oh my gosh, let it go. But you can't, because your vote counts. Every vote counts. And when someone dilutes it, or somebody steals it, or somebody messes with the numbers, or somebody doesn't do their job removing or adding in people, we have a problem. And this is systemic throughout the United States. In New Hampshire, we have Daniel Richard. We have his case that is pending right now, and that's about the illegal and unconstitutional voting machines, which, oh, by the way, the software is no longer being supported as of 2019. They're pirating parts from other machines, which is a problem. And none of them have ever been certified. So that's an OSHA issue. We have got also with the absentee ballots. We have absentee ballots that are showing up folded, which they should be because they're coming in the mail. We have absentee ballots that don't have a single wrinkle or a fold in them. How do you get an absentee ballot with no folds in them? These are very basic questions. How do you have an absentee ballot that it does not have an affidavit and has never been notarized? You and I, and the rest of us, have to, we go to vote, and we vote in person. You have to show your ID, photo ID. You are checked on a list, and they check you off on the list. You take your ballot, and you go into a secure area where you vote in this secure area, not in your basement, not in your bathroom, not in the kitchen, not in the garden. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm pointing out a very huge discrepancy. We leave the secure area with our ballot, and we are watched by security. We are watched by town clerks, moderators, etc., as we choose to put them in the machine or not, to have them hand counted, which is your choice. It's a side pocket. And absentee ballots, there's only originally 2 reasons, now 3. For asking for an absentee ballot, and that's you're out of the state or out of the country, you are severely disabled, or it's a religious exemption. What happened during COVID was not passed by the legislature, so those are not reasons. My dog ate the ballot. My boss wouldn't let me off work. The weather was terrible. Those are not constitutional reasons to ask for it. That set aside, if that is allowed, if we vote it in and it's being allowed, you must have a proper affidavit and a person who can notarize it to say you are the person that signed that piece of paper. You can't go to court. I can't scribble something on court and go, this is my affidavit. Well, it's not notarized. Every legal document has to be notarized, and we're not getting that. So that is a problem in every single town, for every single election, and it's being poo-pooed, it's being ignored. And you come forward and tell us this story that is really, it's quite simple to fix, but they're unable or refusing to fix it, and that adds more doubt for me and for many, many voters in a country that's supposed to be freedom. Not liberty, that's a different word. Freedom. And it's not right now, and a lot of people are upset. So I say thank you
no thanks
from the bottom of my heart. No, I do, because you know I'm fighting, and there's a bunch of us that want equality. We don't want discrimination, and we want honesty. We want our votes to count. That's why we're here. That's why we're Americans. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing this forward. People, you have any questions, reach out to Al. Reach out to anybody in your town. It is your job to make sure that your rights are not being diluted, your vote is not being diluted, and that the people that are our public servants that we voted in, that's not carte blanche to do whatever you want. We voted them in because they swore they would do what we needed them to do, what was right and what was constitutional, and we're not seeing it. I'll give you the last word.
I would have been much more rested and less conflicted if early on everybody worked together, and the worst thing I would have been called is you were on a foolish errand, and you're one of those people. But instead we saw things we never expected to see, and I don't know what else to add. I wish this problem didn't exist.
I do too.
I'm disappointed, and I've lost faith. But I know that every step of the way we had no choice but to ask the question and continue on. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you. And I definitely want to have you come back and, you know, let's figure out what's going on. We have a lot of cases in this state right now, and they're about voter integrity. They're about ballots. They're about all of this. So it is a problem that's everywhere, and we must make sure that it is fixed and that we can trust our elections and our officials. Thank you so much, Al.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, and see you next week. Have a fabulous weekend.